Dragon Force 2. The game we Westerners had to wait 20 plus years to play, at least a translated copy of. How does it live up to its glorious successor? Well, it hits it out of the park. Fans of the first game will be very happy to know that it is everything you love about Dragon Force and more. The ability to command two different types of troops simultaneously is, in my opinion, the biggest game changer, along with there being a whole bunch of new troop types in addition to what I think are all of the older ones. It makes the battles feel really fresh again. There are a lot of unique character interactions this time around too, even in your more secondary characters, like this robot who says a few funny things. Almost every single character has their own unique character sprite and illustration card, giving even your ancillary characters personality. There are some new and interesting magic attacks like a spring-loaded tree, which are pretty funny, some good crowd control type spells, and even some spells that boost your general's ability. Old fan favorite magic attacks make a comeback, like Cross Flash, Sonic Blast, Summon Golem, Flame Shot, Resurrect, just to name a few. Even throwbacks like this Let's Go 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 are present, as well as the Queen of Pale Moon's inherited famous battle strategy passed down for 500 years. Just as in the first game, the replay value is strong with this one. Once again, you can take on the role of one of the 8 leaders of the game. 2 of them don't become available until post-game again because of storyline stuff. And as far as storyline stuff goes, I'll tell you this briefly. As you just heard me suggest, Dragon Force 2 takes place 500 years after the events conclude in the first game. Now, I want to reveal as little of the actual storyline as I can, but I will wet your beak with this. Events happen after the story in the first game concludes. Those events go unexplained and almost unnoticed for 500 years, and then it causes something. That's pretty vague, I know, but like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. There's a lot of connection to the first game, and the story in Dragon Force 2 perfectly, and I mean perfectly, keeps up with the canon of the first game. Oh, and there's even a crafting system where you can make items and even a few new troop types, I believe? What? They took what was so near and dear to our hearts about Dragon Force 1 and gave us an amazing sequel. So as I always say, nothing left to do now but jump right into the action and see what makes Dragon Force 2 the Godfather 2 of video games. Well. Welcome to Dragon Force 2. 20 years of waiting and I couldn't have been happier to see this title screen. So we're gonna load up my game I have saved playing as Queen Rainey of Pale Moon. Pale Moon along with Tristan are the 2 kingdoms you don't get to play as until post-game. So we're at our domestic affairs menu now, and you'll probably recognize all of these previous options, but there have been some key updates. Again, we have our awards section, which also now groups things like statues and coins as well. I think I understand why, but it's a little odd. So let's give one of those awards to Rainey. If you look on the right, you see that not every general can command every type of troop. One thing I'll say I don't like is that there's no way to sort through your generals here, and since they're not alphabetized, finding someone can sometimes be a bit of a pain. But here she is. Okay, so we're gonna give her some more falcons. Now the aid menu is new and where things get pretty cool. You have your regular menus for talking with officers and captives and checking on castles, but now there are 2 new menus which would normally read captives and building. You can now delegate to automatically attempt to recruit captives and to attempt to fortify your castles, which just streamlines the process in a huge way. Your arms menu here is where you're going to hand out weapons, which are more in depth than Dragon Force 1 and can have a lot of cool abilities tied to them. Your items menu, where they also group shields and stuff, I guess it's for more defensive things. Your chat menu has been updated to have facial indicators for how your troops are doing, which is pretty cool. POWs is where your captives are, and the build menu is the old Fortify. Now here's another huge deal about Dragon Force 2. There's now a forging system where you can make items, including awards for some different types of troops. I believe some of them are even unattainable from any other means in the game. Now, admittedly, when I finally got the chance to play this game, I didn't really spend a lot of time doing this because I was so eager for more story. but it seems super promising as to what it offers for the game. So here we are, back in the land of Legendra, and my how things have changed. The first thing I noticed was that this world map feels a bit darker, like the color scheme feels a bit muted maybe, and it's not nearly as vibrant as the world map on Dragon Force 1. Although after playing the game for a while, I feel this might have even been a stylized decision, and it sort of fits the motif of the game nicely. Oh yeah, and one thing I don't want to forget that's also huge, you can now save from the world map. Huge game changer right there. Okay, so I want to give them their troops before I send them out, and this is how we're going to do that. Pretty easy, you just go to your officers and then click recruit, click on the officer, select class, add 10, set, then recruit. Could be a little convoluted, but you get used to it. Let's send out Rainy, Adelvok. No, we got Chimeras, Bergman, no. Alright, now let's send you, and... And why does it call you Bender, and not, you know, this guy, the robot? Well, either way, we're sending them both. Alright, we'll put you in charge there for sure. Okay, so another cool addition to this game, you see where it says fast at the top of the screen now? Well, I could select that, and now movement on this map is going to increase, like, by triple, making long trips take much less time. You used to only be able to do this if in the first game if you brought up the debug menu, which I often did solely for that purpose alone. They also added the ability to move the camera in and out. I don't know why you would ever want it this close, so I usually just keep it zoomed out so I can have a good view of the map. Look at them speeding off. That's them moving with it off, and back on again. And just like that, we're storming the fort. Now that's something else that's exclusive to Dragon Force 2, voiceover during the game. Now this troop selection menu may look familiar, but there is the addition of that chart in the middle, which will display your troops' effectiveness against the enemies. I think if I'm interpreting it correctly, this chick does the best against the robots we're going against. As you're about to see, there have been a few very important changes on the battle screen too. And no, I don't mean the crow. Or vulture or whatever. Robots are a pretty standard troop type, believe it or not, so this should be a breeze. Okay, so form ranks you're going to want to hit when you're ready, and underneath you have your battle formations. Some generals have multiple formations to choose from, but not her. When you select it, you can actually flip the formation of your troops depending on what's best suited for that battle. We're just going to go with this formation since it's not, like, super imperative that we switch. And here's another cool thing. The ability to command your two types of troops independently of one another. So we can have our troops in the back retreat if we like and keep a defensive position, and move our front troops towards the general if we like as well. For skills, she starts out with a healing spell, which is new to the game, and let me tell you, it heals a lot compared to your life bar, like almost your entire life bar. Here's the one thing I missed though. When you give your troops the melee command, you don't hear them cheer back at you, which I always thought was pretty cool. Okay, well we wiped the floor with her. Let's see our queen in action. So Rainy also has the open battle formation, which is going to space out your troops on the battlefield a bit more. We're going to keep our mages in the back, that way we'll have a little support in the rear. Okay, so let's retreat our mages behind us. That's a good stopping point. Let's bring them together a little closer. Okay, so for magic she has healing and hyperstorm. Let's see how hyperstorm does here. Blast from the past. Okay, not bad, like 10 of her troops. Alright, let's go. Our mages are starting to give us some support, pick these guys off while our arrow troops do the same. The other cool thing we can do is get our melee troop attacking the general while we position our range troop on opposing sides of the general and really stack up some damage. So let's regroup, stand by. And there you go, she's going to be toast in a second or two. Also pretty cool is that troops have different attacking animations for attacking airborne troops. Just fun to look at. And look at that, she was no match for us. Okay, so Rainy gained a level for her efforts in battle. And now we're going to recruit again. Another cool thing is that when you capture a castle, it comes with recruits this time. Let's take from Peter and give to Paul over here. First round of action over, and here comes the other cool part. Because of our option choice earlier, our generals are now going to search the castles they're occupying instead of doing it back at base, which is a pretty cool addition to the process. Though for me it loses a little bit of the anticipation for me, not hearing that jingle as you search a castle like in Dragon Force 1. And now we're back at our domestic affairs window, where our generals will attempt to fortify our castles, and where we will go through the proceedings of handing out awards, items, and tending to all of our other duties. Do this enough times, and you will have united Legendra once again and reach the end of this amazing sequel. Well, everybody, here we are. We've conquered the evils of Legendra twice, fought countless battles, and even had a few laughs along the way. Dragon Force 2 follows up so well with Dragon Force 1 that after playing it a few times, it begins to feel more like Dragon Force 1 Part 2. And that's a really good thing. Now, even though Dragon Force 2 does everything that Dragon Force 1 does, even making a few improvements along the way, it lacks a certain visceral feel that the first one had with me. It's something that I noticed probably within my first battle, and only upon further introspection later on, realized that this subtle change affected the way I perceived the game in a big way. And that very small but very monumental thing is this. In Dragon Force 2, when you give the melee command to your troops, they follow your orders but they don't say a thing. I feel like they're almost just staring blankly back at me and it has no oomph behind it. Your general gives their rallying orders and I just want to hear that cry back in return. Unlike in Dragon Force 1, when you give the command to your troops, they holler back at you, cheering, screaming for glory. It's something that made the little hairs on the back of my neck stand the first time I heard it, and still does to this day. There's no better feeling than giving the charge command to 100 soldiers and hearing them shout back, "Yes, my liege!" So alas, this is the end of the video, but not the end of my love for Dragon Force 1 or what now has become Dragon Force 2. I can honestly say that 20 plus years of waiting for this sequel was well worth it. But nothing can ever outshine the heart and the character of the original Dragon Force. I'm Enigmatic M, thanks for checking out my video, and I'll see you all again next time. Peace out.